And here we are again, Hornets. And today we are bringing you some Ready Language Handbook. And we are going to go ahead and get out our Ready Workbook and we're going to turn to the back to page 231. Where we're going to start getting into some sentence structure. So, yay, sentence structure. That is the foundation and building blocks for all of our writing in class. So, the very first thing we want to do is get out our workbooks, page 231. Also, I need you to get out your source book. We're going to take a couple of notes. So have your workbook open to page 231 and then your source book open on top of that so we can go ahead and write some things down before we get straight into the workbook. So the first thing that we've got to do is to break down our building blocks that we use to create sentences. So we're going to start with our smallest block, and that's what we're going to get our notes with. And we're going to start today with phrases. So you need to create a new source book entry. And once again, if I get too far ahead of you, you are more than welcome to pause me and catch up. So that way you can start writing things down. So your source book entry is going to be dealing with sentence structure and phrases. That is our smallest building block of a sentence other than just the words themselves. So a phrase is when we get a group of words. And it's a group of words that does not have, that means it is without, you see that, right? It is without both a subject and a verb. Sometimes it has a subject, sometimes it's a verb, or sometimes, guys, it doesn't have either one, and that's okay. It's also used as a single part of speech. What I mean when I say that is when I take a noun, and y'all know my dog, Ripley. I have a Rottweiler named Ripley, and if I want to just talk about her without calling her by name, I can say my new pet or my pet, and that replaces her name at Ripley, and it's still a noun phrase. If I could also describe something about her, if I said with the green collar, because she has a new green collar from the magical menagerie at Universal Studios in Orlando. So she has that green collar, and that becomes with is a preposition, and the object of the preposition is collar. So I have with the green collar as a prepositional phrase, and it's specifically an adjective phrase because it's describing my dog. She's wearing it. I can also have that she's only had the collar on for 30 minutes. And for is also a preposition. And how long she's had it on is talking about a length of time, which leads it to be a prepositional adverb phrase. Now, we're going to break phrases into a different lesson when it comes to adjective phrases and a separate lesson for adverb phrases. Right now, we're just looking at the idea of a phrase as the smallest building block, okay? So hopefully you have all this written down. Yes, everything, including the examples. And we're going to go on to our next piece of thing that we're going to have to write down in our source book. It's the rest of our stuff on phrases for today. And it is still dealing with sentence structure, phrases continued. So what you want to make sure you add now to this is this right here. Okay. We want to get this entire bit right there. All right. So you have a phrase may contain the subject or the predicate, which is the verb, of a sentence, but never both, and sometimes neither. For this reason, a phrase cannot stand alone. And there's a reason I'm making you write it twice, because I want to make sure you really understand it. So our example, yes, and you were writing down the example, is the enormous Rottweiler Ripley was born on February 9th, 2012 in Mobile, Alabama. So our very first phrase, which is my subject, guys, and we underline the subject of a sentence in case you don't know that. We always underline our subject once, and Ripley is my subject. So we're going to underline Ripley. And she was born. That is actually and was born. We're going to do a comp, but anyway, my verb is was. She was born on February 9th, 2012 in Mobile, Alabama. Her birthday is coming up. But on is a preposition. So I'm going to open up my I'm going to try to draw parentheses. Woohoo. And I want to separate my prepositional phrases out because it's not a subject, it's not a verb. And so I've got on as a preposition, and the object of the preposition is the date right here. So I'm going to close that. And then I've also got in, which is a preposition. I'm going to try to do another parentheses. And I've got the end of that and the noun for that. My object of my preposition is Alabama. Okay. So I've got my subject right here is Ripley. Woohoo. Was born is a phrase that contains my verb. And then I have another phrase right here. It's a prepositional phrase. And I have another one right here. Now notice that both of my prepositional phrases, they don't have the subject or the verb in there, and that's fine. So I have my enormous Rottweiler Ripley, which is one phrase. I have was born is another phrase. And keep in mind, guys, that none of these phrases by themselves make a sentence. They don't. You need them to make sense and be put together. You've got to add phrases together to create a clause, which we're going to get to tomorrow. So we're going to move to our next slide. And that's actually, we're getting into our workbook. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into our workbook. And let me delete. I'm going to clean my screen. There we go. All right. So our workbook right here. So the very first thing that we do on our workbook page is we need to, because we're starting a brand new lesson, is we're going to box our title. There we go. At the very top, we're going to rewrite our title, which is phrases and clauses. Now, granted, this is just a little bit of an overview. Okay, today we're going to talk about phrases. Tomorrow we're going to talk about clauses. In a couple of days, we're going to talk about adjective phrases and clauses. And then the next couple of days after that, adverb phrases and clauses. So that way we can build on our knowledge of these building blocks of sentences to help us in our writing. So a phrase and a clause are a group of words that give specific information in a sentence. Now, oh, look, this is something we already written down. Yay! So a phrase may contain the subject or the predicate of a sentence, but never both, and sometimes neither. Make sure you are underlining what I underline. Good thing for us to remember. For this reason, a phrase cannot stand alone. And our example sentence it gives us is the great American artist Romare Bardin was born on September 2nd, 1911. Well, it gives us our subject, and that is, you're right, Romare Bardin. Remember, we underline our subject once. And what's our verb? And it's even its own little phrase if we take it by itself. And you're right, it's was born. We underline our verb twice. And then we do have a prepositional phrase because we're going to break it down into that as well. And that is, we're going to put our parentheses, we're going to open in front of the word, the preposition on, and we're going to close after the object of our preposition, which is 1911. Okay, now notice that phrase 1 contains our subject, phrase 2 contains our verb or our predicate, and phrase 3 has neither. Okay? Any questions right now about phrases? You sure about that? Well, let's move on and check. All right. So we're going to practice with prepositional phrases, and we're going to drag and drop our little parentheses over here into their spot. And we're going to see if you know where they go. So let's do the first one together. Ripley likes to play near the beach and around the palm trees. Well, our subject, we're going to underline once, and that is Ripley. And she likes, our verb is she likes. And then we end up having this is technically called an infinitive. It's an infinitive phrase, this to play. I'm going to circle that. That's an infinitive phrase. That's 8th grade stuff. Enjoy that next year. So, what is my preposition? Well, one of my prepositions is near, and I have another preposition that is around. So we know we always want to put an opening, parentheses in front of our preposition. So we know we're going to need one in front of near, and we know we're going to need one in front of around. And keep in mind, prepositions are anything. Let's say I've heard that a plane can do to a cloud. It can go on, it can go around, it can go under, it can go above, it can go below, it can go in, it can go out, on, with, for, from, into, above, up, through, at, over, through, toward, until, under, about, after, between. There's a whole lot of prepositions. We had to memorize a song when I was in 6th grade. I know some of y'all did too. But you got to keep in mind that prepositions, up here we got a little hint that it tells us that prepositions, a prepositional phrase has two parts, a preposition and a noun or pronoun that is the object of the preposition. So my noun is beach. So we're near the beach. That's going to close, and I said beach. That's going to close that prepositional phrase. And then I've got around. Well, around what? What's my noun or pronoun? Well, it would be trees. So we're going to close right there after trees. And I'm going to let you drag and drop the other two on your own as part of your learning path to turn in. So you've got Brooke does not like to be near the warm sandy beach or around the spiky tall palm trees. Oh, look at that coordinate adjective that we just finished talking about. Oh, so glad that I've used that right. Then I've got Brandy likes being near warm sandy beaches and lakes, but not around palm trees and cacti. So I'm going to let you drag and drop and get that one and see if you get it right. But I'm going to go on to one more slide for us to review and look at and see if you remember what we did in a previous slide. So, jumped ahead too far. There we go. Okay. So we are right here. Okay. So we're looking back at our phrases continued. So I want to see if you know where to put your stuff in this sentence. So once again, the great American artist Romare Berdin was born on September 2nd, 1911. Well, what is my subject again? That is right. It is Berdin. And I got to make that a little bit longer because it's too short. There we go. All right. Then what was my verb? That is correct, guys. It was born. And I'm going to have to make that one a little bit longer. All right. And then I do have a prepositional phrase. So I'm going to drag and drop this up here in front of on. And I'm going to drag and drop this up here in front and after to close 1911. And there we go. That is your overview of phrases. Tomorrow we're going to get into clauses. And if you have any questions, of course, please send me an email or comment in Google Classroom. Thanks, y'all. Bye.